Okay, hey guys, and welcome to Power 30 today. We are continuing on with the convention theme and just kind of talking through some of those different things, shifts that people have had, things that they have learned. And what I love is that we all heard the same things while we were there, but everyone has a different perspective and everyone has like a different takeaway from that. So it doesn't matter, like that we heard the same content, something is going to stick out to somebody else in a different kind of way. This is also why I recommend like reading books multiple times in different seasons in your life, because depending on the season that you're in or the leadership area that you're trying to improve on or work on, you could read a leadership book and something completely different is going to stick out to you as if you are reading it for the very first time, right? Even if you've read it multiple times. So I'm a big proponent of like repeating books over and over again. The Big Leap is one of those books that I have read about 8 times. I have read The Energy Bus like 3 different times. There's some that are so good that you just want to keep reading them, keep relearning and seeing just what are those different things that are going to stand out to you in that season. Yay, we can see you, Janine. I'm so glad. Oh, she's on her phone. Okay. So this morning we have a few guests who are going to share about their convention experience and what they learned. So first up, we're going to have Amanda Cardone share, and I just am so incredibly proud of her because she's come to a lot of Plexus events, but her kids are always there with her. And her husband is usually there. And so this was one of the very first trips that she went. She traveled solo without the kids, without her husband to Vegas, which is a really big deal, you guys. So I'm just wanted to start out just saying how proud I am of her for like committing, for coming, and for doing the brave thing. And I feel like every time we do something that's super brave and that we step out of our comfort zone, really great things are going to come after that because your posture's different, because your mindset is different as you're doing those things and your comfort zone is expanding. It's like with a rubber band, right? Once it's stretched, it can never go back to being the same as it was. That's what happens every single time that we do something scary. So drop some love in the chat before Amanda even gets started sharing, just for doing the brave thing and going to convention by herself. So go ahead and share, Amanda.
Well, thanks. I wasn't expecting that, but thank you. It was hard. And one of the things talking with you guys is you got to do the hard things if you want to grow. And I've been sitting senior gold for a while, and I want to grow. I want to grow for me. I want to grow for my family. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. I cried a lot. I'm happy to be home with my boys now. I keep looking over because Caden's at school with me and he's in my office right now. But that's just it, doing the hard things. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from convention this year, honestly, was the mindset. And you guys work on us so much on mindset. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so grateful for this team. I'm so grateful for everybody that's on here, the community, because that's been a big thing, is working on that mindset. But being there and hearing, James Lawrence about the mindset. I remember him, he's the Iron Cowboy that did the 50 Ironmans, 50 days in 50 states. And I remember the one story he told about his daughter when he collapsed, when there was like 25 miles left at the race, and his wife called and he wouldn't take his wife's phone call. But then his 9-year-old daughter called and he answered his 9-year-old daughter, and she was like, "Daddy, you said you were going to do this. Get up." And his body's literally telling him he can't, literally telling him he cannot physically move. And she was like, "Well, can you cartwheel to the finish line?" And it was that mindset of the 9-year-old. I think Caden's 7. And when he says to me, like, "Mommy, I'm going to do this when I get older," I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, you are going to do that." And I'm like, well, why as adults, when I say I'm going to go on an Alaskan cruise, people are like, "Oh, are you sure about that? That's not real. You can't really do that." And instantly our minds go to, "You're probably right. You're probably right. That's not the good priority thing to do. I should stay home. I should, do my job, blah, 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 blah." But we forget to live those big Disney dreams. And that mindset was so huge and actually carried over into Sunday at church. So one of the things that they talked about in church was, I believe, but help me with my unbelief. Because we can deep down in our core believe these things are possible, but there's always going to be a little bit of something that may come up. But having that belief, yes, baby, hi, baby, doing that. So I believe, but help me with my unbelief, because that's going to help you continue to grow. If you want a different life, you have to become a different person. And I feel like I'm in the stage right now where I'm kind of grieving a little bit the loss of the old Amanda, because I'm growing into the new Amanda, which is an amazing thing. But you still have to go through all those stages of loss and grief and anger and, silly things of me getting mad at my husband for something that's so silly, but realizing the truth behind of why I was actually getting frustrated with him is because going through that growth of becoming that different person. It's not just about chasing the dream, but it's about living the dream. So we can have these goals, we can do all these things, but if you don't truly live through them, you're never going to obtain them. Remove your plan B. And trust me, I guarantee a good majority of you on here are like, I don't have a plan B, but you do. Secretly, you have a plan B in there, because for me, I didn't have a plan B. This was my all in, but the more I'm digging, the more I'm realizing that I secretly have a plan B. You got to get rid of it if you want to continue to go forward. And one of the last things that I wrote down that I wanted to say today was that greatness is not achieved in isolation. That was a big one for me. And I believe it was James Bear I'm combining names, Jay Bear, that said that one, that greatness is not achieved in isolation. I am one to isolate when things get hard. I am one to back away. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. I don't want to, cause anybody grief. That's just kind of where my mind goes. But greatness is not achieved in isolation. I don't know if I talked about it on here before, but they talked about, cows, when there's a storm that comes, they herd together. And there's this wonderful picture of this lightning strike, and all the cows are all coming together to support each other in this storm. The cow that gets left off to the side because they chose to go wander and not lean on their herd isn't probably going to survive the storm. So we have this amazing community. We have this amazing upline that literally gets to pour into us every single day. Use it. Use it to your advantage. Power 30, it's a half hour a day. I understand if you're at work and you can't get to it, watch the recording later. Like, these things are all there for us to continue to grow. But remember, to grow, you have to become that different person. So those are some of my biggest things, Meg, that I took away from this year's convention.
I absolutely love those, Amanda. And it is so true. Like, we have such big belief and such big faith in our kids. Like, I don't know a single parent who's going to, like, shoot their kids' dreams down and be like, there's no way that you can do it. And we have this belief in them, right? But we have to take that same belief and pour it into ourselves and remind ourselves that we can do the hard things. It truly is about what you're going to put your mind to. There we go. Okay. And staying close to people. Dina had talked a little bit about that last night on Straight Talk too. And something Phil and I have shared for a while is, I truly believe that one of the biggest tactics that Satan uses is isolation, right? Because if he can get you by yourself, then all of those negative thoughts, all of those doubts, all of those things can start to creep in, right? But when you are being surrounded by other people, it's a lot harder to get down on yourself, to feel discouraged, to feel frustrated, because you have other people who are lifting you up. And so just be aware of that, right? Take note of yourself, that when things start to get hard, look who's around. Look and see. Sorry, was supposed to be down for a nap. And catch yourself, right? Become aware of your tendencies, because everybody has that same tendency. Literally every single person does. It doesn't matter if you are the most social butterfly that there is out there. When things start to get really hard and you start to doubt and you start to feel discouraged, chances are it's because you're pulling away from people, right? You're pulling away from those people who you know would speak life into you. And I promise you that it is never a burden on them. Right. Because we all want to cheer each other on and encourage each other. And so never be afraid to reach out to someone and be like, hey, I'm struggling with my mindset here, or I'm struggling with this skill, or I'm struggling with that. And I can feel myself pulling away, right? You have to fight for yourself and you have to be your own advocate. Phil and I always say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Like you have to fight for yourself. You have to put yourself in certain positions that are going to help you grow, right? Like you can't use it as an excuse when you start to pull away and say, oh, well, why is nobody reaching out to me? Does anybody even care about me? Right? Because that's what your mind's going to. That's what your mind starts to think. And it's not on anybody else, right? To pull you out of that hole, right? You have to be the one to reach your hand out first and say, hey, I'm over here. I'm struggling a little bit. I need my village. Come and help me. Don't sit around and mope for yourself and then be like, why didn't anybody come to save me? Well, because it's nobody else's job to come save you, right? You have to fight for yourself and you have to fight for your dreams. And yes, we're here to, to encourage you and to cheer you on. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one who's going to fight for your family, who's going to fight for your dreams, who's going to fight for your goals. So thanks so much for sharing all that, Amanda. Okay, next up, we have Janine. And what I love about Janine is that she had some of her family come from California. They brought their kiddos. Listen, bringing kids to convention is not easy. It is stressful. It's very hard. It's always worth it, 1,000%, but it is hard. And so cheers to all the mamas who brought the babies, who had the kids. It's a lot. And so not only did Janine have her daughter, her brother and sister-in-law also came. They had their kids. It was a lot, but I just saw that your brother went fast start silver. Like so many exciting things are happening. So go ahead and share a little bit more about your experience.
Actually, hi everyone, good morning. Actually, Justin's actually not my brother. I just call them my brother and my sister because I knew them or I know them through youth group and ministry. So they're my brothers and my sisters and they're my family. So that's why I call Justin my brother. But here we go. First of all, I want to say I nearly pooped myself when Megan texted me this morning asking me to get on this call because I know when she texts me, it's always something that I'm like, I'm scared of it. I'm scared to do it, but I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm trying to train myself to think that I can do hard things and I'm going to do scary things because I know that's such a roadblock for everyone. And I'm trying my best to, I don't know why I sound like I'm going to cry, but I'm trying to train myself to think that I can do scary things and do hard things because the more that I do it, the less scary that it gets. So I'm trying to show up on my stories a little bit more and I'm just trying to listen to Megan as much as I can. But one thing that stood out to me was it all starts with a decision, right? Like I feel like every day, all of us on here, we always wrestle with the idea or the thought like, do I keep doing this? Do I keep pursuing this? Am I good enough for this? Am I going to make it? Like, is it going to be something like these are all questions that I wrestle with and that I struggle with every day. And I think that everyone can agree and feel the same way. Make your dream boards. I actually just made another one and updated it because I was so inspired by Megan's dream board. And when she was speaking and I was looking at the board, I was just like, I'm going to make one because I feel like that's one thing that I'm putting out fires over here, little fires everywhere here. So just so you know, I have my two girls around me. So I finally made my dream board last night and I shared it with people on my team. And I was just so inspired by Megan's dream board that she was able to cross off everything on her dream board and now she's making new ones. And I think that I've been avoiding that because I know that if I make it and I know that if I see it, it actually becomes too real that I have to work for it. So that's scary. So I'm going through like my bullet points here, but a lot of the notes I took were during Megan's talk because my baby was sleeping during that session. So I had time to take notes. Set your mind on things above. I really struggle with this when I started Plexus because I came from youth group and ministry, and a lot of the things we learned were like offer things up when you're suffering and all of this for God's greater glory, and being a mother is sacrificial and this and that. And I felt like if I put myself out there and say that it's okay to put yourself first so that your family thrives too, like that was scary for me because I knew I had friends from ministry watching, and it's like, how do I put it out there that like, yes, motherhood is sacrificial, but it's also okay to put yourself first. It's also okay to do things for yourself, because if you put yourself last, like, I don't know why I'm gonna cry. I'm just gonna keep moving on, guys. I just think that God didn't plant these desires and these dreams in us for nothing, and he wants us to go after them. Because, and this is something that really stood out to me, your dreams are attached to someone's blessing. Like, I was so hyper focused on what would people think about me? What would people think about me when I start promoting this brand? What would people think about me when I'm not being like this sacrificial person in my vocation? But really, guys, like, it is sacrificial. Like, we are being called to something so much higher, so much better, so much more beyond us. And I think that everyone can agree here that whoever wants a convention, you'll feel that energy in the room. Like, it's not just about ourselves. It's not just about us. This opportunity is for everyone, and we're being called to share it, whether it's in, faith, finances, health, all the things. So your dreams are attached to someone's blessing. And I think that was such a turning point for me. So thank you, Megan, for saying that. Bite-sized goals. I'm so overwhelmed with my life right now that sometimes I'm like, I can't even think about Plexus right now. I can't even go on my socials right now. Like, I'm so overwhelmed with my life right now. But when Megan said bite-sized goals, I was like, that's it. Bite-sized goals. Like, I don't have to do it big every single day in my life, because the changes that we're making, guys, it's in the mundane. It's in the daily things that we do. It's you showing up as a mom. It's you showing up as a teacher. It's you showing up as a nurse. But then Plexus, I don't know if you guys understand this, but the more I think about it, the more that Plexus just naturally pours out of me. Like, after this convention, I literally was just like, I get it, God. Like, I get what you're calling me to do. I literally was like unapologetically telling my bellboy about Plexus. I was like, Stu, I just came from convention. I don't know if you know, but it's down the street over there at the Caesars Forum. And I don't know what came over me. But I took his number and I got his number. And then yesterday I was out at the park with my kids and I met a dad, and he's a neuromuscular doctor. And I just was like, here, take my number. I work for a network marketing company. And he said his wife is a nurse and she's sleeping for a night shift. And I was like, great, we'll be friends. And I just was like, who am I? And I went home to Ryan. I'm like, who do I think I am? So, last thing I want to say is I literally had every excuse not to go. I had so much mom guilt leaving. I didn't want to ask my in-laws to watch my kids. My husband had to take PTO to watch my other two. I felt bad for leaving them. I felt bad for even taking my baby with me because I knew she was tired at times, but she was just such a trooper. And there was just so much. And I told Kristen and Amanda this, like, I'm literally about to cry. It was the last day. Like, I literally was about to cry because I was trying to pack up my pack and play. I was struggling. I wanted to cry because Rye does all of that baby equipment. And then I'm trying to pack my things. The baby's taking out all the wipes out of the thing. She was like sprinkling all her snacks all over the carpet. I'm trying to pack our stuff. The bellboys won't come and get me. Like, every little thing. I'm like, why is it like one thing after another? And I told Michelle this. She's just in life. And she's like, sis, it's just spiritual warfare. And I'm like, you're freaking right. It's SW, and we call it SW. It's called SW, spiritual warfare. It's because the devil doesn't want you to hear these good things, and he doesn't want to experience these good things, and he doesn't want you to share it with others. So guys, that's the devil speaking, because he doesn't want you to share all that with other people, and he doesn't want you to grow his kingdom, God's kingdom. So I don't know why my heart is racing so fast right now, but finally I will be Emerald. That's it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I got all choked up. I'm so proud of you. And no, this is the thing about this business, you guys, is that every time that you step out, that you go after things, somebody else's life is going to be touched. And so if you can keep that in the forefront of your mind, like knowing that my session touched you that much, helped change so many of those things, like it's such an amazing thing to be a part of. And Phil and I have said from the beginning that we have done more ministry through Plexus than we did when we were elders in a church, right? Because you are meeting people in a space where they're sharing their fears. They're sharing things from their past with you. There's a lot of things that people have to overcome in order to get to the places that they want to be, right? There's going to be obstacles. You're going to have to learn how to be resilient through all of that resistance that is coming. But if you know that it's going to be there and you know that it's coming, you can see it and you can be like, okay, I see you, but you're not going to conquer me today. Like this is just a little hurdle in the road, but I'm so determined to get there. And that shift that you're talking about, Janine, where you're like, I'm just talking to everybody. That's what belief does, right? So when our belief is really high, all of a sudden we start doing really brave things that we're like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Who am I? Like, I just talked to so-and-so. I did this, I did that. And it's like, that comes from a level of belief. And this is why we say your energy matters, because when your belief is high and your energy is high, you're naturally going to start doing things that are just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where that came from. And so something that you guys can continue to do, since we're not at convention anymore, right? You have this high while we're there. Continue figuring out ways to continue that high. You guys watch Diamond Docs every day, right? Or at least a few times a week. They're like 5 to 7 minutes long and they are so inspiring. And I remember on my way to Emerald and to Diamond, like watching people's videos and imagining like, what is my Diamond Doc going to be like one day? Like, what are the things that I want to have in there? What's going to be important? And just finding so much inspiration through other people's stories. That's going to help keep your belief high. And that's going to help you to overcome those fears, those doubts, all of those things that creep into your head. But Janine, I just want to thank you so much for like your honesty in sharing where you're at and where you've been, because I think so many people can relate to that. But then also what you're doing, you didn't let those things stop you. You found a way to make it happen. And that sense of drive is why you will be Emerald. So, and Diamond and beyond and all the things. So I love you guys so much. Really drop some love for Amanda and Janine for sharing today in the Energy Bus chat. And then we are going to finish out Power 30 for this week, for this month. And we are going to take the month of July off. So just want to kind of prep you guys for that. We're going to finish out this month. We're going to take the month of July off, and then we will reconvene after that, just with traveling, you know, different things, getting speakers, all the stuff. But you guys have the power to gather together yourselves. If there are some people that you're like, hey, I really love working with them, or I love hearing from them, book a Zoom call together and sit on for 30 minutes and get work done together, inspire each other, get together in person, say, hey, come over my house. Let's do a little work. Let's have the kids play. Let's do this. Because that community aspect is so key and so important. But just wanted to give you guys a little heads up about that. Love you all. Thank you so much for being on here today. Thank you so much for sharing, you guys. I think that we were all super inspired, and we'll see you tomorrow.